checking my links, and my personal Facebook profile link is definitely like the highest converting, which is a testament to like spending time in groups, my own group, but also in other groups as well. So, and Instagram does okay, like if I'm really, really like pushing people like to the link in bio or to links, but it's still like a game, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I already hit the record button, just making sure I did that. So what this is going to look like, what this is gonna be like, is I'm gonna take you guys through the exact process that I call my Facebook group in an hour process. So I have one-on-one clients that they pay for this hour with me, and we go either rehaul their group if it already exists, or they're starting a group and I'm helping them optimize the group and get it ready for launch. And like the more case studies I've had, the more exciting this gets, because my most recent client that went through this process saw 75 leads in just 2 days. And by leads, I mean email addresses. He actually got about 100 members, but 75 out of those 100 members actually gave over their email address, which is great, right? That's list building without having to host a webinar, without having to like, you know, jump through any hoops or use Facebook ads. It's just optimizing his freebie with his Facebook group experience. So are you guys excited? So tell me who has a group. I know Marvin has a group, Quinn has a group, and then Daria, you're going to start a group possibly. Okay, and then Naomi, you literally just started it, but you haven't done anything yet. Okay, and then you guys, Amanda is my assistant. So she's kind of here for moral support, technical support. She's in many of my groups and my client groups. So she can help in that aspect as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna talk about, and all I have here is a Google Doc. So I'm happy to share. I don't know that it's really necessary, but let's just share for a few minutes at least, because it's literally this simple. And what I do with each client is I kind of customize this template for each of them. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the group title. Now, the group title is an opportunity for SEO. So what you want to do, let me make sure that and I always want to encourage you guys to operate from your personal Facebook account. You just have better access, especially now that I've started doing more for my business. Like it's a cluster and I'm constantly having to switch back and forth, but there's perks to doing both, but you're just going to have better access across the board if you're always interacting as your personal. And then making sure that you have optimized your personal Facebook profile. So this intro is a great opportunity to tell people who you are, what you do, and then send them to your group. So you can do a direct hyperlink to your group or your freebie. We're going to get to that. So don't like freak out if you're like, I don't have any of this yet. But so it's almost like we're going to start. And then at the end of the call, you'll be like, okay, now I know exactly what to put there. But anytime you interact in a group, people are going to click over to your personal profile. They just are. We're stalkers like that by nature. And the biggest mistake I see is that people that have not optimized their actual personal profile to send people to an easy way that they can solve a problem or find out more, okay? And it's not really enough anymore to just be like, here's my website. It's here's how you can get something. Even mine could be way better. I just put free guide. I should put 2x your Facebook community. Like I should probably change that out. But this is the bit.ly link that I was talking about that gets the most hits out of all my other bit.ly links. So that's a good place to start. Okay, now going back to the title of our group, you want to search, let's say, Daria, your brand is a life aligned. So you would want, I would title yours that, but then you also want to put what problem it solves. So what's one way you describe what you do?
Transformational coaching for heart-centered leaders. And nervous system regulation is like the coaching, like the kind of modality that I'm bringing people through.
Okay, so what I did is I just typed that in just to kind of see what we get and go down to groups. And you're going to start seeing everything that's like similar. right, to what you do. And then when you do title your group and get it going, you'll kind of want to type some stuff in and make sure that your group is now showing up. But normally I tell people don't necessarily use your name. Like we don't want this to be like Daria Drake's, amazing group, because we want this to be a place that brings in cold traffic, people that have never heard of us before. So, nobody's going to just jump on the internet and be like, Elizabeth Henson, right? So, but they might search how to build a community or how to grow my Facebook group. So you want to be thinking about what they might actually be searching. So I do actually like A Life Aligned because I feel like that speaks to the transformation, but then also typing in what people might actually type, right? Like I sprained my ankle, if there's a sprained ankle group. So I think transformational coaching is pretty good. I don't know if people would be typing that in, but it might be worth experimenting around. What are some of the pain points that you've seen, Daria?
So I'm calling it nervous system regulation because all of the symptoms are from a dysregulated nervous system, like anxiety, overwhelm, people-pleasing behaviors. So the nervous system regulation is and those are the symptoms. They might not know that it's nervous system regulation that they need.
Yeah. I would even put, there we go. Something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think anxiety, people are definitely going to be typing in anxiety, nervousness, overcome anxiety. Yes. Cool. And this is just going to give you some ideas of what groups already exist and what is going to show up. So I wouldn't necessarily do what these people are doing or not do what these people are doing, but just kind of knowing that what people type in here is what's going to show up here. And what you want is them typing in something that's relevant that gets your group to pull up, just like you would for, Google search or any other search engine optimization. So if you were my one-to-one client right now, I would say, let's just settle on this because it speaks to the pain point. It speaks to the transformation. And then that first sentence, which we're going to get to in a second, is also going to show up. So we don't have to rely totally on the title. You're going to have this first sentence that's where you're really going to tell people the promise or the transformation that the group provides. Does anybody else have questions about their title? Or question?
Mine?
Yeah.
You like my title?
Get visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your name in it?
No.
Okay. I know it's get visual something.
Let's get visual community. Embrace your authentic self on camera.
Yep. Embrace your authentic self on camera. I love it. So that definitely speaks to the transformation. The only thing you might want to play around with is the pain that people would actually search might be learn video skills, right? They might type in something like that, and then we would want your group to pop up. But your group does explain what it does, but you can say exactly what they're going to search in the title as well. Quinn, you introduced me to Tiffany, who recently changed her group name. So she's writing, just for context, she's building a group around her book that she's writing. And the book is a children's book to help, kids sleep. So she literally named the group, My Kids Won't Sleep. And now all kinds of people are finding her group because they're desperate and they're typing in My Kids Won't Sleep. So just be thinking about that desperation point of what they need. So Marvin, yours does speak to the transformation, which is great, but it might be learn video, get visual, blah, 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 something that they might type in. And again, this is an experiment. So we don't have to be married to one title. Try it for a couple weeks or a couple months, and then just keep trying new things if you don't feel like you're getting the results that you want. And that being said, the title is important, and this is all part of the optimization process. But only once or twice have I seen my groups show up in the sidebar because Facebook decided we want to show your group to everybody. But when that does happen, you get a ton of traffic. So this kind of is like setting us up for those things to happen, but it's not like a guarantee. We have to do all the pieces of the recipe. Okay. So just to keep us moving, the next thing is that first sentence. So in that first sentence, the group description, that first sentence is also an opportunity for search engine optimization. So Marvin, if you were to change the name of the group to like learn video skills, then in that first sentence, you could say, this is a group where, you know, we're going to use video to help market your business. And really focus on that promise. And it doesn't have to be like the big promise of your business. You can make it a short-term promise. So my promise is like 2x your group in 2 weeks if you follow these steps. It can be a short promise. In fact, when it comes to building your group around your freebie, I'm a big fan of the short-term promise. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too. Then there's like a little template that I follow of introducing yourself. This is where your name comes in. I'll get to your question in just one sec, Quinn. This is where your name comes in. Like, I'm Elizabeth, I help people, blah, blah, blah. Your mission statement, your vision. And then we want to pre-qualify people. This group is for you if, this group is not for you if. Use fun emojis so that it really stands out. And then your CTA. And you can always go to my group and just copy and paste. And you'll see here I use my bookmarks. Well, I don't know if you can see that part of my screen, my Facebook groups, Community Builder. All right. So promise, introduction, cast the vision. And I don't think it really matters if you use I, first person or second person. I don't really have an answer there. I just feel like the more we begin to leverage ourselves as an authority, like we almost want to create like an MC of the group, right? Like someone else that is entertaining the crowd and you're like the keynote speaker. So that's one of the reasons I did it, just to feel a little bit more professional, but I don't think it matters if you're like, I created this. So then you're going to pre-qualify them. How do they know if they're a good fit for this group? How do they know if they're not a good fit for this group? And then whatever CTA, which we're going to get to in a second too. And this is just the formula that I take my clients through. You know, my group, you know, if my imposter syndrome is going to get the best of me, it's like, oh yeah, my group only has 300 people, right? But that's happened in about 6 to 8 months, which is on that track of 20 to 30 new members a month, which is exactly what I'm seeing across the board as healthy growth, right? So it's really easy for us to be like, oh my God, I want to grow my group to 1,000 members in X amount of time. And a lot of the other educators on Facebook groups, like that's their focus. And they're just teaching people how to go to all the right groups where you're allowed to self-promote, like slow, steady groups of people who raise their hand is like, I want to be in this group, is going to be so much better, because that conversion rate, whether it's just 100 people, if 20 people are buying your stuff, or out of 100 people, if 75 of those are on your newsletter, and then 20 of those are actually purchasing or interacting with you, that's way better than a group of 2,000 just to say that you have the numbers. So don't worry about the numbers, but that growth of 5 people a week or 20 people a month is a perfectly healthy growth. And you will, you'll see faster, you'll see slower, you'll see both of it. All right, any questions about the group description?
So that was all in your about section.
Yeah, like the group description. Okay. And that's a good point. We can do some of this together. If you go into your settings down here, I'm glad you mentioned that because this is another part that I take them through. Name and description all goes here. And then privacy, you want it to be private, but not hidden. So I think a lot of times that default will pop up as hidden. You do not want it to be hidden. You want it to be private, but visible. Because if it's public, then there's no reason for people to join because they can already see everything. but visible is what's going to make it show up in search. Now, location, if you do have a location that's huge, my location isn't relevant, so I didn't fill that out, but I have a client who is for real estate professionals in Florida. So that is like another added perk if you want business that's like in your area. Tags, just pick some that seem relevant, because I think those are kind of like you can start typing them in and see what pops up, but those are going to be really good too, to help optimize you to show up in search. And then this is a really, really important one that I see a lot of people forget. You can customize your web address. So that's where whatever name you come up with or whatever's easy to remember. So like Daria, if a Life Aligned is not taken, I would just use that so that it's community or facebookgroups.com/groups/a Life Aligned. And that just makes it way easier when you need to copy and paste and send it to somebody. It looks nice and branded. It's like a little thing that goes a long way. And if you don't do it, it'll just come up as like blah, 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 like a bunch of numbers. So it's just like an added benefit. Badges are fun, not necessarily anything noteworthy. Group affiliation, I haven't really played around with this, but I think you can like kind of team up with other groups that have similar audiences. We'll experiment with that down the road. This one is important, who can join your group, only profiles. Now, I have some clients that allow business pages in. Again, there's no right or wrong. You're going to get a lot more spam if you allow business pages in. And again, they are not going to get the best experience. I was managing a really busy group for a launch, and we allowed business pages to come in. And then they were like, I can't see the live. Where's the live? I'm not getting notifications, because the business profile is just not optimized to get that experience. So that's why I say only profiles, because I want to really protect the experience of the user, and they're going to get a better experience if it's just their profile. Does that make sense? Okay. Who's pre-approved to join? Nobody. And we're going to go over that in a minute. The questions to enter. Who can post in the group? Anyone. Approve member posts. I always recommend starting with this off, because I find that if it is on, it's going to hinder people from wanting to post. So if Sally goes to post, hey guys, I need some help with my video, but she has to wait for Marvin to approve it, that's not going to be like warm and inviting for her to want to continue to ask questions. Now, if you start to like, your group grows to like 3,000 and you're getting a bunch of spam and a bunch of crud, then maybe turn it on, but then make sure you have moderators that can check those notifications quickly. So there's nothing more irritating as a community member to have this burning question, and then it takes 3 days to get approved. Quinn, do you have anything to add with that? Like, since your group is a little bit larger, have you had any problems like approving posts or with people posting stuff that's not relevant?
I actually just turned off the need to approve posts. I was protecting my group kind of heavily for a while there, but yeah, I turned it off and I have not had any issues. I changed my rules as well, so they know what to post, and I've been guiding them on what kind of stuff we want to in the group for a while. And like you always say, continuously cast your vision so they know as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm a really big believer in like the law of attraction here, right? So as long as we're not being spammy and self-promoty, then they're going to follow our lead. So I always say, start with it off, use your law of attraction energy of what you want to bring to the group, and it usually is just fine. But again, I have groups that I work in where they're like, they allow page, they don't always listen to what I say. And their groups do just fine. So again, this is like whatever works for you. These are kind of just my takeaways. All right. I think that's pretty much the most important ones here. You can link your page. So I just did this recently and I kind of regret it. So don't worry about that too much. I think I only did it for something I was doing with this event, to tell you the truth, because I can only have the paid events from my business page. But now, like I said, I'm just in this annoying pickle where you guys will see me posting in the group, and half the time it's like my business page and half the time it's my personal. So If you're just getting started, I don't recommend even worrying about that. But if you are in this like super professional mode, then maybe consider it. I think you guys are all more in the personal brand space, so we don't have to worry about it too much. All right. And then Marvin said, does Facebook, they do, they just started saving the member questions, and I'll show you where to go for that. Thank goodness, it's like a brand new feature. So let me fix my window real quick. All right, so you go to your group and then you go to members. All the way down. Oh no, you click on the member first. So let's see, who's someone kind of new-ish. You click on the member and you go down and it'll say membership questions, view answers. So this is awesome that they started doing this because they didn't before. And I have some groups that were capturing email addresses right here in the questions to enter, and it's like life or death, right? Because every email address collected is what makes me valuable as the community manager. So thank God they started doing this. So now you kind of have a backup system. If you haven't been documenting the answers, you can go back and get them. So again, you just go to members, click on the actual member and scroll all the way to the bottom. And then it'll also tell you, you know, some of these other things too that are kind of cool to know. All right. And Quinn, as far as the title, I don't know the exact length. Let's just see really quick if it tells us. Name and description, name.
So I was wondering, like, if in your opinion and through your testing, did you find like there was a recommended length, you know?
No, and it's not telling me that I'm running out of characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so I use the maximum. It doesn't want me to add any more than that.
Okay.
So it doesn't tell me how many characters that is, but I can copy and paste it and put it on our little template.
Can I tell you my title and you tell me if you think it's too long?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how to build and nurture an email list for children's book authors.
No, I think that's great.
It's great. Okay, thank you. Oh,
I was like waiting for more
you.
so that it could be too long. No, I think that's great.
At first, I was going to add, or I thought you were saying like to put our name in there as well.
Yeah,
So
no,
like,
don't.
okay, that's really long. Okay.
Nope, put your name in like this first or second sentence.
Okay.
I would recommend this is the promise, but you've already put your promise in the title. So it's an opportunity for you to kind of expand on that. Like, you know, inside this group, you will learn how to create a successful email list around your whatever you said.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the description, what people are typing in. And honestly, like I haven't changed this since I started. So now I'm all like, oh, I could probably make this even better. The community builder, like 2x your Facebook group in 2 weeks here, and then put the who it's for here. I'm not going to do it right this second because that gives me anxiety that I'll type something wrong, but I think I might actually experiment with that. But what you can do to help you is use emojis that are on brand, because that just makes the group stand out when people get notifications. And that way, if you are changing your title, like I'm not going to change the community builder, I would just be changing this part. You're not giving people like that, where did it go kind of feeling. It kind of still feels on brand and feels the same. Cool. Okay. Any questions about group description, title, any of that stuff?
I have a question about the questions. I noticed that you asked them to go to a link in order to opt in. Have you tested whether that's more effective than, hey, give us your email for this?
That's a great question. So let's go to membership questions. There's a couple reasons I set mine up that way. I want them to do the work. So even if that means I get a few less email addresses, the fact that they have to copy and paste this URL and put in a little bit of that legwork, they're going to be more committed to opening it when they get the email. They're going to be, it's like that, they're raising their hand effect. But most of my clients choose to put the email here. And that would look like, if you would like my free guide with the 25 conversation starters, leave your email below. And that's really, really good because now you have their email address. You're going to be the one inputting it and making sure that they sign up and they get their onboarding experience. There's no right or wrong. especially now that I have this program called Group Leads that manually does all this for me. There's no reason that I shouldn't be doing it, but I'm like, this is working. I would say out of the 315 members or whatever it is, I have about 250 to 275 on the email list. So to me, that's a really good number. And there's some people that are on the email list that aren't even in the group. So it's going to have a little bit of mix and match, but that's been working for me. So I haven't really messed with it, but I think gathering the email address is just as good. You can create a Zap so that, it automatically adds them to your list. Any other questions about that just while we're there? Okay. And I'll show you guys a little bit about Group Leads because it's $27 a month. It is totally worth it if you're collecting their email address, especially, and for that onboarding experience that we'll talk about. Okay, but as far as membership questions, these are important because you have an opportunity to learn about your people. So you have 3 questions, and I always recommend 1, let's learn something about them. So Daria, yours might be, tell me a little bit about your anxiety on a daily basis, or what's the biggest, hurdle you're facing as far as your anxiety and your energy. Like, get them to kind of talk about their pain point a little bit. And then anything you would like for them to learn, like if I could wave a magic wand and, fix you, what would that look like? There's a million different things that you guys can ask, but you want it to be very specific. Let's learn about them. And then let's see what they want to learn, kind of thing. And then obviously promoting your freebie or your email opt-in. So while we're talking about the freebie, you want this to align with what the group is about and give them a quick fix. So Daria, yours might be like one of your 5-minute meditations. Marvin, have you already set up a freebie with your group, Marvin? I feel like you have. Yeah. So is it like 5 video tips?
If you want to say that, type in the chat.
Either one.
10 videos to get comfortable or confident on camera.
Perfect. Okay. So that's like something quick and actionable that they're going to want. And it aligns with the content that Marvin's putting in the group. So there's so many benefits to having a freebie with the group. A of all, it gives you more content. I have 25 conversation starters that I can use inside the group, that I can rotate, that I can talk about why they work, why they don't work. I mean, my PDF is like 5 or 10 pages. So that's a lot of juicy content that I can just sprinkle into the group. So having that is great because you're never going to draw a blank on like, what do I talk about today? It's like, what can I pull from the freebie and turn into a question? And we just keep it moving. Also, it's just going to drive leads, right? So every time we get an email address as a lead, that's an opportunity for us to give them this community experience. And now we're like, okay, great. I have their email addresses. Now what? You want to create that weekly newsletter experience. And you guys should all know, because you should all be on my list of like, here's 3 things that happened in the group last week. So like Marvin might be like, oh, I went live and I talked about ways to get more confident on camera. Oh, and then Sally posted in the group and she had this great question. So I answered her question. And then whatever else, like 2 to 3 bullet points every week where you're pointing them back to the group. And I see week over week with my email clicks, this drives engagement to the group. And you're not overwhelming them because you're not constantly introducing new information. You're just reminding them of like, this is what went down this week. You still have time, to catch up. Like, I'm not throwing 10 things at you every week. And this is my philosophy, but I feel like that creates a better experience of like, this isn't like the fast track. Like, we're just going to take our time and we're going to have conversations and we're going to eat a meal together, right? Like, social media is so fast. Let your group be a place that's just like 1 post a day. And I've done the research around how often to post, and there's no reason to post more than 5 or 10 times a week. I leave it at 5. So just allow it to be a space that's like, it's not like chaos, right? We're not just going to throw everything at them. All right. I know that was kind of a lot. How are we feeling about the membership questions? Do we have some ideas? Feeling like you know what to do with them? Okay. Now we want to make sure that we're documenting this. So let me pull up an example.
I have a question about the last question.
Mhm.
So in my group, I have, what is one thing you need help with in your business right now? Do you like that?
Yeah, or maybe like get a little bit more specific. What's one way that video could help your business right now? Or when it comes to video, like what's one thing that you could use some help with right now? Something like that. All right. Now, sexy spreadsheet time. Now, this is really important from like a community management standpoint, law of attraction, when we're talking about these membership questions to enter. Some people are going to skip over them, and that's fine. Just do a little bit of stalking to make sure their profile is normal and, you know, that they're a good fit. We can talk about that too. But like somebody's really might be spilling their heart out in these answers, and that does happen. So they took that time and energy to answer these questions. So we want to make sure that we are returning that time and energy and like documenting their answers. And if it's not you, a team member can do it, or this group leads program can do it for you. So for that reason alone is enough of a reason to be like, they really put their time into this. So I'm going to do the same thing and make sure that I read the response, because it's really easy to just get in your day to day, especially if you get like 10 requests at one time and just check. And like now they're lost, even though they're not lost anymore. They used to be lost forever. Now you can go back, but you know you won't go back, right? Unless it's to get that email address. So group leads is like a Chrome extension. I don't think you guys can see it. I think I have to share my entire screen. So I'll do that for you in a second. But group leads takes all three of those questions and filters them into a spreadsheet for you. And it gives you all this other information too, like a link to their Facebook profile, all the questions to all the answers to the question, how many Facebook groups you have in common, how long they've been on Facebook. It tells you all that stuff. So, and that's only $27 a month. It's really worth it. It sits right in your Chrome, like all your different Chrome extensions. But I copy and pasted for a long time and I got along just fine. So if you're really like on a tight shoestring budget, then hold off on that, but just make sure that you've created a spreadsheet. I know a couple of you guys are in the Growth Lab. You guys have a template there, and just copy and paste all those answers. Then you want to make sure that you're kind of documenting the growth of your group, or having someone do this for you. And again, none of this is a deal breaker. Like I probably track all of this less for my own group than I do for all my clients. Like, you know, this is where I live. This is what I do. So these are best practices. Don't let this like overwhelm you. But again, the difference in how a CEO talks and how a hobbyist talks, okay? A CEO will be like, hey, engagement is down 10% this week. What are we going to do to bring engagement back up and make sure that our community is getting the best experience possible? Where a hobbyist is just going to be like, nobody's responding to my posts at all. It's not worth my time. Facebook is worthless, right? Because that's like, they're making an assumption that because nobody has commented on their post that it's not working. Whereas a CEO will look at the data and look at the numbers and just say, hey, engagement's down a little bit. What can we do to help that? Yes, Daria. Your little hand.
I raised my hand. How do you find out what your engagement rate is? Is that something that like Facebook is telling you?
Good question. So there's a lot of different ways to measure it. I'm going to tell you how I measure it. And I don't know that that's necessarily the right or the wrong, but this is how I measure it for my clients. So you go to engagement and then think about how often you want to track. So it automatically does the last 28 days, but because this is my job and people are paying me to watch their group on a weekly basis, I do the last 7 days. And then every week in the same spreadsheet, I'm tracking the total members over the active members. And this is just that formula divided by. So C7 divided by B7 gives you your percentage. And as long as this is over 40%, that's a very happy, healthy group, in my opinion. And that's where like we always like assume the worst. And people are like, they're not commenting, they're not engaging, my group sucks. And I'm like, well, how many members are active? Because lack of engagement doesn't mean happy or unhappy, right? Think about all the amazing content that you guys see on a daily basis and you don't take the time to like or comment. For example, I looked at Daria's website this morning. I had all these thoughts about how amazing it was, but I was busy or a kid ran in the room and I didn't actually comment and tell her that. Slap on my wrist for that, I know better, but think about how many people actually do that on a daily basis. So lack of comments and whatever doesn't mean happy or unhappy. So an active member is somebody who scrolls, somebody who hits the read more button, somebody who has physically entered your group. So that law of attraction is telling you that if they're entering your group and they're spending time there, then that's a good sign. So that's why I always say, look at the active members. Don't worry so much about likes and comments. So Daria, you would just go to engagement. Now this won't pop up until you've kind of proven to Facebook that you're taking this seriously. So a lot of my groups like that just open, like won't have this. It takes a couple weeks. There's not an exact formula. I always thought it was 100 members, but mine was given to me at like 70 members. I think that once they see that they have enough data to pull, it'll start showing up. So don't panic if you don't have it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Okie doke. Did that answer that question? Okay. Let me go back to my little bullet points so I remember where I was. All right, so questions to enter. We're feeling good about that. Tracking member information, that's where I was. So this way you're keeping track of your growth. This yellow is kind of different for every client, but just think about how will you know when this group is successful? And I want you guys to write that down or put it in the comments. Like when I start off these Facebook group in an hour calls, we want to be very clear on like, how will I know my group is successful? And those are the things that you want to kind of keep tabs on. So if it's like members are posting without me, then that's something that you want to kind of keep your eye on. Or I'll know my group is successful when, 50% of them are active, or, X% is on my email list. Whatever is going to kind of give you something that's measurable so that it's easier for you to say, yes, this is working, or no, that's not, right? And then I like to have one more tab that has like screenshot worthy moments. Sometimes I like to track friends that have invited other friends. Daria's invited so many, thank you. Most active members, you can find all that information over here. And like the membership, this will tell you, oh, look at Quinn. Hey, Quinn. And Marvin's up there too. So this will tell you your most active members. And this changes, I think like on a 28-day cycle. But that's just a great way to know like, who are your warmest leads? Who are your biggest cheerleaders? Take this list of 10 people, go show them some love on Instagram, right? This is just all part of the community building process. And like taking one person's experience and like, it's a full circle. I'm not a different Liz over here that I am over here. Like, you're engaging in my Facebook group. I'm going to have some law of attraction and go hang out with you on Instagram as well. And something that I have, Amanda do, or some of my assistants do sometimes, is like create a list of like, let's go stalk them and find their Instagram handles and make sure that we're doing that due diligence. Okie doke. So that's pretty much it. This is what I call the community management dashboard. It looks different for everybody. Start off simple. The only reason this is declined is because Group Leads just likes to do that. But this will tell you too how much spam you're attracting into the group. I have one group that gets a ton of spam. So like their declined page is like massive. But the more data you collect, the more information you have to like make improvements and make changes, because we are the scientists of our own experiment. This isn't like, we're going to get it right and this is going to work. It's like, we're just going to keep showing up and we're going to be part of this social experiment. All right, how are we feeling? Marvin said doing that now. Awesome. And yep, you guys can just copy and paste, or if you're interested in the group leads, I'll switch up my screen share and show you guys that at the end. Okay, so we went over tracking member information. The freebie, I know I did that super fast. Does anyone have questions? Does everyone already have an email list set up? Does everyone feel good about that? Because I really do think this is a big piece of the puzzle, is having a newsletter and group kind of provide that community experience.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you keep that list separate from your like other email lists?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So if I was like starting from scratch and I had no email list, then I would talk to everyone the same and it would all be centered around this experience. But because, you know, that's not the case, I've had an email list for a very long time. It is a specific segment to my Facebook group. So it's about, 300-ish people. And then I have my house list. So that is a great thing to bring up, because sometimes we're doing promotions that go to our house list and we don't necessarily want to email everyone twice a week. So I just give them a unique experience. So if I'm emailing my house list, then I will exclude my community builder list when necessary. Sometimes it's okay to email them twice. Like my podcast roundup will go to everyone, but that weekly reminder of what's going on in the group only goes to my group. It's a good question. Quinn, is that kind of what you're doing too with your newsletter?
So everybody is getting the same thing. But let me tell you, I've had people who are not in my group at first be so excited about what's going on in the group that they'll join like just to see.
Yes.
So there's so many ways to go about it, I guess.
No, and that's totally true. And I will constantly invite my house list to the group. So yeah, they just don't get the weekly. They'll get like a monthly invitation, or like when I was doing the workshop, I make sure that they know about it. But I have a lot of people in my group that are like photographers or like not super relevant to what I'm doing now, or like they just found me because of my podcast. But again, I don't think you can ever really overdo it, because they have to see something 7 times. And if they unsubscribe, then they probably weren't going to buy from you anyway. And I've had people unsubscribe and then come back and resubscribe. So
yeah,
it's not the end of the world. So that's great feedback, Quinn. You can do it either way.
okay.
Especially if what you're talking about in the group is relevant to the rest of your list. Yeah, just keep inviting them.
I do have it segmented because I have 2 different audiences, and you know that list. So I have authors and then I have parents. And so authors all get the same thing. Parents get something different. So yeah. So you have segmented a little bit. Cool. Okay. Are we feeling good about the freebie? It feels like a lot, but I promise, like once you get it set up, it's like I haven't thought about my freebie in like 6 or 8 months since when I created it. It's, it's a good freebie. It works. I lined it up with the group. I will say, like, it's part of the onboarding. So if you have a promise, so my promise is 2 weeks. Now I know, like, if someone shows up and they use my freebie and they go to the topics tab in the group and they go through some of my easy information that's in this topics tab, I know they will see success in 2 weeks, right? So that's part of their onboarding process. So, and a couple other things when it comes to onboarding process. So we have the questions to enter. You can tag them in a welcome post. And this is a great way to keep a really good post alive. So this is a post from August. All new members get tagged in this welcome post, okay? And this is what I like force my clients to do, especially some of my bigger, wealthier clients that don't really feel like showing up. I'm like, you need an introduction post. It could be a video. I can show you guys Jordan's video that casts the vision, right? So it could be like, hey, I'm so glad you're here. This group is a great place that you can come to help learn how to tie your shoe. I want this to be the best place to learn how to tie your shoe on the internet. Now tell me something about you. And you're casting that vision. And this is a post that you can use over and over and over, and you're going to tag new members. Now, again, you're going to get really tired if you're doing all this yourself. Group Leads does this for me, but it's not a bot. It's really me, right? Like, it's really 100% me. I just have the Group Leads that does it for me so that I don't have to. So that can be an introduce yourself post. I can show you guys kind of Jordan's video so you can see it on like a more corporate group. So Jordan has this welcome video. It's like 1 minute and 40 seconds.
just encourages people to interact. They're going to get the group out, get out of it what they put into it. And then I just welcome them the same as I do in my own group. But that onboarding experience is really important. And if you guys have been in great groups, you kind of know like, oh, cool. Like now I know where to start, you know? So that's part number 2 of the onboarding. Part number 3, totally optional, but you can also message them. So let me see if I can find one. So when someone joins my group, they automatically get this message. So if you guys have all been in the group for a while, you might not have gotten it. But once I set up group leads, and I'm not selling them anything, I'm just saying, hey, welcome to the community builder. You know, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Or if you just want to grab some quick tips, go to the topics tab. Thank you for being here. I know you're going to bring so much value. And that's like just something that I like to say to people, because I truly believe that every human being can bring value to a space. And I think sometimes they just need to hear that, like they're important, right? I'm not just on stage yelling at them, like their energy and their time and space here is important too. So again, not selling anything, but if they reply, which some do, some don't, now I've got the gateway to their messages when it is time to like have some of those next level conversations. You can also friend request everybody that joins your group. I've seen people do that just to give you more access to their inbox. But those are the 3 steps that I take for onboarding. So the questions to enter the group, tag them in a static post, and then a welcome message. Onboarding is like its whole thing. Onboarding is a whole thing, but it's important, right? And that's one of those things that's going to separate you from every other group that just becomes a dumping ground. Okay, so genius. Thanks, Marvin. It's a lot of trial and error. Yep, okay, so your email list is for who got your freebie. So just align your freebie with your group. So like your promise in the freebie, kind of go back to your group description and make sure that that same promise is in your group description. Cool. Yeah, the message is also group leads. No, the message feature isn't glitchy for me.
Okay.
My question was like, when you say like not email everyone, I was saying like my email list is all people from my freebie. So do I still need to separate that, like the group? And
no, I would just make sure so they get your freebie, then they get invited to the group. So thank you for downloading my freebie. Here's how to tie your shoe. Come join my Facebook group where we continue this conversation on a weekly basis. Okay. Now someone finds the Facebook group first. Hey, I see you've joined the Facebook group. Have you already downloaded my freebie? Or if you want a copy of my 10 ways to tie your shoe, leave your email below. And if they already have it, they'll know not to leave their email. And then they get that same email, but you can always just say, if you haven't already joined the group, nobody cares if they get invited to your group twice, right? Like they just don't care. Like they don't say, oh, cool, I'm already in there. Or, oh crap, I haven't joined yet, kind of thing. Okay, let me kind of show you guys group leads. I think I have to share my entire screen to do it. So I'm not going to talk about my messy desktop. I'm just going to stretch this out. It needs to be cleaned up. All right. So can you see this little blue icon? Group leads. Can you guys see that? Okay, let me click on a Facebook group. So since I'm in my group, go to settings. So this is where you copy and paste that Google Doc that I showed you guys. They give you the template and you literally just copy and paste that there. That's all you have to do. And then autoresponder. So you can enable a welcome message and then you click on that and you can say how long it takes to do it. And you can do a whole bunch of different messages. So I just did 1, but I could do like 5 and have it rotate a bunch of different ones. Tag new members in welcome post. So you just post the URL to that particular welcome post. And then I did randomized comments and I just have a couple, like, this is a great place to start. Feel free to introduce yourself, blah, blah, blah. And there's even more features that I don't use, but you can like auto accept or auto decline. But it really is amazing if you don't have an actual VA to do the copy and pasting for you. And it kind of takes some of that emotionalness out of it, right? Like I might not have emailed Kathleen. I don't know who she is. I'm not sure how she found my group. I would have been like, oh, I'm feeling shy. Let me just let her find her way around. Where this like kind of takes me out of the equation and just gives that experience to everyone. And so many people are like, thank you, or I'm so glad to be here, or I'm excited to learn, right? And it feels so good to welcome them and like know that I'm not selling them anything, right? Like even if they respond, I'm not jumping into like, oh, let's work together. Like I'm genuinely just welcoming them to the group. Okay, yes, cool. All right, and I'll get you guys the code. I do have an affiliate code for group leads if you guys are interested. They have a free trial. You can kind of try it out. All right, we're doing good. We got 5 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about content. Let me go back to bringing you guys on this little journey. All right. So I know I've talked about a content plan. We've done the webinar in the group. So you guys know most of that. But again, 80% of your comments or your content in a Facebook group is going to be one line or less. So deep breath. Like I work this hard on Instagram, you guys. Like if this was a mountain, I work this hard on Facebook. Right? And I see this much more return on Facebook and this much more return on Instagram. I would not even be doing what I do on Instagram if my team wasn't doing that for me. They do 85% of everything you see from me on Instagram, and they make me do it. I would not, because the ROI is so low. So 80% of your content can be one line or less. And I could look at any of you guys' Instagram accounts and come up with like 10 conversation starters. To put in a Facebook group, because all you're doing is you're looking at like a big meaty blog post, Instagram, whatever it might be, and you just pull out one question, right? So if you're like, here's 10 ways to tie your shoe, and I'm going to tell you all these amazing ways to tie your shoe, and this is a really long form post, I could look at that and I could say, what was slowing you down from tying your shoe when you got ready for work yesterday? ? Right? Just get the conversation started. And then in the comments, you can add a little bit more expertise if you need to, right? Like people ask me all kinds of questions in the comments, and that's where I come in and I coach them and I help them in the comments. So it's all about the questions. So this is kind of the rotation. Whoops, I still have Katie's name in here. Let's put you. So this is kind of the rotation that I put my clients on. It doesn't, I'm not into the whole like, talk a lot Tuesday or hump day Wednesday. Like people don't want to be curated. I feel like Facebook groups that did that was very like 2015, right? Like what's working now? TikTok is working now. People that are successful on Instagram are failing on TikTok because people don't know how to be authentic and vulnerable and like real life with a messy background, right? So Facebook groups are kind of the same way. Like we don't need to be perfect. So just rotate like GIFs, big ugly text boxes, have some humor, some memes, be imperfect. At least once a week, let's hit them with some value. So for me, that would be like my Facebook Lives, right? And then maybe like some really quick action tips, but provide value at least once a week. Other than that, we're just asking questions. You can share personal stuff about you, a picture of your pet or your kids or your office. Like we don't have to curate in Facebook groups. So take a screenshot of this or copy and paste it, whatever you want to do. This is kind of the rotation that I keep, and it's super, super easy. And it's not always the same day each week. I'm reading the room, right? Like I refuse to do content calendars for my people because I'm constantly reading the room. Daria has another question.
Are you going to send us this little document?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can put it right
Okay.
here.
That would be nice, just so I like spreadsheets and bullet points and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do anyone with the link. I don't really care if you guys, you can ask me questions. Let's just do it that way. Okay, now it's gonna take me a second to find my chat. Done. I'm like so special. I can never find the chat in the same. There we go. Okay, so now you guys have that. That was a good question. How are we feeling about content? I know that what I want you guys to walk away like feeling like you know what to post for like an entire week without feeling stressed. Do you kind of feel like that a little bit? Okay, just questions that help you learn about them. Questions, think about the kind of questions that you answer. Like what's really quick and easy, right? Like, do you like blue or red? Oh, I can totally answer that question very quick and easily. But if someone's like, tell me about your favorite color when you were 6 years old and you were out in nature smelling a flower, then I'd be like, oh man, like that's not easy, right? So quick, easy questions so that when people are scrolling, it stops their scroll and they get to insert themselves. Because people are selfish, they just want to insert themselves. So the more that we can roll out the red carpet for them to insert their opinions, the more they're going to participate. Okay, we went through it. Now let's kind of bring it back. I know on the sheet, we have like, if you already have a group, what are some areas you want to improve? Feel free to type it in the comments and we can go over that. If you already have a group and you have areas you want to improve. If you don't have a group, you haven't gotten that yet. If you don't have a group, think about, what do you want the main focus of your group to be for the next 6 months? I lost my window. There you are. So how will you know your group is successful? Answering that question. And what do you want like the main purpose of the group to be for the first 6 months? When I created my group, here were my intentions. A place to experiment all this shiitake that I'm teaching my clients, right? Like I was doing this for other people, but I was always doing it based on their business model. So I just truly wanted a container where I could do experiments, just like this event. I wanted to be able to speak from my own experience, what it's like to try Facebook's paid events. So that was my big driver. My second driver was, hey, I'm doing this for other people. I should be doing it for myself, right? So that I can make more money and build my business. So I knew it was going to be a place that I wanted to focus on selling my course because my agency clients are not the same people that will buy my course. So that was definitely in the 6 month to a year plan. Like networking is really important to me. And I wanted a place where I can get people to connect with each other, to be guests on podcasts, to shine the light on group members and bring them on live, like we're getting ready to start doing. So I really sat down and had like, what are my intentions of this group? So get clear on that so that you know what you're working towards. Okay, Quinn said, this training helped me improve. I need to make a group specifically for authors, and I was procrastinating. Yes, good. And Amanda, you can screenshot that comment for me. And creating screenshot worthy moments, like I always like to say, as far as reviews, like let's gather rather than ask, right? And of course, I ask for reviews for a lot of my paid services, but like in a free community, just gather the great things that people are doing and saying. And again, a lot of that is law of attraction. So if we shine the light on others, then they're going to do the same for us. Any other questions? Any other questions around your 6 months goals? How can I support you? How will you know your group is successful? Anybody want to answer that?
I do.
Oh, go ahead, Marvin.
So I guess for me, I always just wanted a place to hang out with people who care about what I actually care about, And I think I just want to spend time with people who actually want to spend time with what I have to say and want to learn from me, things like that. So that's kind of why I did mine, and I'm having fun with it. But yeah, I do have a course that can help people. And I like what you're saying about networking and things like that, because I feel like the type of people who want to do this are the kind of people I want to love to hang out with, in real life and things like that. So
yeah. And that's really important too. So how can we incorporate that into your group, which is kind of intertwined into your core values of I just want to surround myself with, people who think what I have to share is valuable, or what each other have to share is valuable. And this is conversations that I have around adult friendships and how we're constantly wanting to surround ourselves with people that bring out the best in us. So you are creating a space where you're actively bringing out the best in other people, and in return and vice versa, they're wanting to hear what you have to say. So and your like video is your tool, right? Like community management is kind of my tool, my vehicle, but your vehicle can be anything. So your vehicle is video, but what you're really giving them is like that dinner table experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even if you're not selling in your group, like this is an opportunity for you to be top of mind. Like Marvin's such a good example of like being top of mind because he's active and he's engaged and he's shining a light on other people. And that just makes us the first person that people think about. So your group, if anything, is just great for referrals. Great to position yourself as the go-to expert in something. Cool. Quinn, did you have a question too?
It wasn't related, but I wanted to know if you had any tips for the cover image, like any, yeah.
Yeah, like not too busy, like less is more. I think it is a great place to bring in your face if you're a personal brand. And then if you're doing any events, like starting to use the Facebook cover as a place to like put those dates. And we're going to start doing that in May. So you guys will see that happen in May, where I actually starting to put the days that I'm going live in the cover photo, just to add to that like experience, make it light and easy for them. But I definitely think if you're a personal brand, great place to show your face, because we're not really talking about, you know, that in the title. And then important dates, never hurts to like recast the vision, the problem that you solved, but not being too busy.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that the updates to the group, like updates to the description, the cover image, kind of act as announcements? I feel like everybody sees those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that used to get on my nerves, but now I try not to like, like with my own groups, not other people's. But I'd be like, I don't want them seeing that I changed my cover photo. Like, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But we have to get over a little bit of that fear of like, they're going to get notified, you know?
Yeah, I said that because what you said about adding the dates to the cover image is really good because everybody's going to see it.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. So yeah, those would be my recommendations for the cover photo. Just have one. That's where you want to be branded. Like we don't spend a lot of time doing branded information inside the groups. So that's a good place to show off your brand, your colors, your fonts, you know, your brand overall feeling. Yeah. How do we do? Anything else? You guys feel good?
That was so helpful.
Yay!
As someone that has no idea what any of this is, that was a lot of information. So,
I know. I
yeah,
try. It's
great.
like I try to like keep it, you know. But it really, if you just take 30% of that and implement it, you're going to be ahead of the version of you that knew none of it, right? Or the person that doesn't know any of it. So it's not always about like I have to take every single thing. It's just, you know, what golden nuggets am I going to take and run with and really use? Because I know it's a lot, but it will really optimize you for success. And you guys are going to get this recording. So, you know, if you do find that you're overwhelmed, you can always rewatch and, you know, my goal was for you guys to kind of go step by step with me, but I know we kind of went through fast. So you can rewatch and pause and like work on your group description and then, you know, work on your membership questions and so forth.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lot less overwhelmed than I was before. There's just so much information I'm not really even on Facebook. I'm not really on social media, but I've decided this is what I'm going to try.
Yeah.
So it was a little overwhelming to see all the menu options and just have no idea what I needed to focus on. So I know where I need to focus now. So
yeah. And we did that
helpful.
part. So when you get the recording, just I skipped over all the stuff that doesn't matter. I went through like those 5 or 6 things that kind of matter and then just don't even worry about the rest. So that's really good. And I do think, you know, I'm biased on Facebook groups, but I think for people who don't really love social media, like it's such a good solution because you can have a Facebook group and a newsletter and like you don't even need Instagram or Twitter. You know, this can be your main focus. I mean, I have seen people make millions of dollars from their Facebook group and their newsletter. Like that's it. Right? Like he's like, don't even care about Instagram. So, you know, we don't have to keep up with the Joneses, and it's a place that everybody that's there has raised their hand because they want to hear what you have to say. And that's a
Mhm.
benefit too. Whereas like sometimes, on our Instagram or Facebook business page, we kind of feel like, we're just talking to everyone. But like, this is an opportunity to talk specifically to people who have the problem that you can solve.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. Yay. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. I will get this recording up, and thank you guys so much for coming and being part of my experiment. I feel like my voice is tired today. The words are hard, but thank you guys so much for being here. I feel like it went pretty smoothly. We did okay. Cool. All right. Well, I'll see you guys in the group. And Naomi, I did have a hard time. I think I got you invite. Are you in the community builder group?
So I did click join. I haven't checked back to see. It said it was pending, but I assume
Okay.
that'll go through.
Okay, I saw that. So that was probably you, the one that was sitting there then. Okay, cool. Because I was like, I typed in your thing. I kind of had trouble finding you on there. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just put everything in there, even my personal profile back on. So it's,
Oh, okay.
it's all brand new.
Good. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.